What's up everybody, KleverKrok back for week 5 of season 4 of the GTA. This week we've got 5 matches, and of those 5 I would say they were all pretty good matches. I'm not sure if I'd say they were as good as last week per se, but they were definitely some good matches. We had some really close ones, we had some that weren't as close, but they weren't all just, very one-sided, I guess I should say. There was one match that I was definitely looking forward to seeing between the Wobbuffets and Zubatman, which is the first match we'll look at, and that was a good one. Another good match was... which one was it? It was the match between the Parasects and Gengars. That was a pretty interesting match, some pretty cool stuff. So, without further ado, we'll just jump right into it. We've got the Wobbuffets versus the... we've got Zubatman versus the Wobbuffets. Looking at their team, I guess I should say, this week we weren't able to have any analysts join us, so it's just me this time, but next week we will definitely have somebody alongside me for the recap video. Anyways, back to it. I really like the matchup here. Zapdos and Mega Pinsir rip through this team. It's just kind of the problem of not having very fast Pokemon outside of, what do I call them? Scarf. So, Scarf, Kyurem, Black really puts in work here. Other than that, I really like Zapdos, especially with the HPIs. It's kind of a threat to everything that he brought. But, there's plenty of physical pressure on Chansey, which is good, and that was an important thing because Chansey's been a huge stumbling block for a lot of teams facing David this season. So he definitely has that going for him. But other than that, I guess I'm a bit biased, but I really like Zapdos. It's just such a threat in most of its matches, and here is no different. So we'll go ahead and start off with the match. And so it was a good lead on David's in Justified's side, going for the free fake out. I would have gone for knockoff because you outspeed anyways, and he's not going to stay in and just allow that damage to go onto an extremely frail Pokemon like Heliolisk. And had he got that knockoff, it would have been good, but as you can see, the HPIs on the Spec Zapdos really, took care of that issue. So at this point, that means Zapdos can just spam Volt Switch, which is really nice for him. But Hippo here is just kind of walling the heck out of Conk, which is pretty funny. Now, this is where I get confused. Maybe he knew that it wouldn't do all that much, but giving a status condition to it's clearly Guts. That was a bit scary in case something were to happen where he doesn't have that physical bulk like he does right now. So that's something that I kind of felt risky on, but it seemed like he was prepared for it. Other than that, Chansey just walls the rest of his team out, except, he has to bring in one of those physical threats on Chansey, or it's just going to sit there and heal the rest of his team back. I wouldn't have gone for... I forgot about the Thunder Wave. I guess that was a good play. I would have brought Outrage, though. I don't think he uses it here, but... I don't know. Fusion Bolt's good, but it's not Stab, and Outrage would have put in the work here. It would have done so much. It would have probably killed Chansey, or at least threatened it to switch out into something like Hippo. So, good switches and stuff. It seemed like Justified had this match, had it completely controlled here for most of the time. As you can see, it's just Chansey comes in, heals, and then Zapdos comes in, is able to put on pressure and then switch out. As it does, he gets the switch initiative, can come in, outspeed, so he can just toss a Draco, gets another kill, switches out, goes for knockoff. That was a good play. Unfortunately, it didn't have an item anymore, but at this point, I think, he can outstall the conch here. So Wobbuffets realize that they have to switch out here. Now they switch. I think they just go for the grass knot, but the smart thing here would be to go for Volt Switch or to just double back out, expecting him to switch to Chansey, which he does. Now here is where, again, Outrage would threaten the heck out of it because it would take out Chansey and it would crush anything else. Unfortunately, even though it does take out the Chansey, he does get it paralyzed as a trade-off. So that was a bit unfortunate for him. Draco, of course, just takes out, you know, I don't know, he's getting weird down here. Like I said, Outrage would have been really useful, but other than that, I mean, the wall core that Justified had just was really good, and then the bulk from Zapdos. Those three make a really solid bulky core, and then having the faster threats that can outspeed his team ultimately ended up, you know, with the way this match ended, because both of them have good teams, absolutely, and that was very lucky. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely would have brought Outrage on the Kyurem Black. Maybe he was running like, I don't know, sub Fusion Bolt, Ice Beam, and something else. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know, but definitely a good match though. Is very is closer than you think it is. If he had not gotten his Kyurem Black paralyzed, it would have been a lot scarier once Chansey went down, because that's the one thing that could potentially outspeed, or no, that would outspeed regular Pinsir before it Mega Evolves on that first turn, and then get that Ice Beam off or a solid Outrage. Would not be able to survive that. So anyways, we'll go ahead and go on to the next match, which is between, let's see, Richmond Rykos and the Alakazam Apparitions. And like I've said before, the Apparitions have a scary team. I still don't know if I'm convinced by Mega Sceptile. Obviously, it's not something he has the ability to choose, but he does have a very solid team. It's very heavily, special attack, focused. And he has Weavile. The one criticism I have is, even though Heatran's a really good counter for Clefable, it won't be once Calm Minds are set up, and that just makes it really hard to take that thing out. And Clefable alone here walls most of his team. I mean, Weavile is the only thing that can really stop it. But if Clefable was running Cosmic Power instead of Calm Mind, as you'll see, it would have been impossible to take it out, even with a crit on any Pokemon he had. So here, the Apparitions get their rocks up, which is good. And then they switch in Weavile. Weavile makes a really good play here, goes for the Pursuit, and takes out the Latios. So that was a good play. Switched into Heatran, that was good too. And Toxic was a decent play too, knowing that it would poison anything. The only thing being Magic Guard Clefable, that would be kind of a waste of a turn, but that's fine. Losing the, Life Orb, that's okay. I mean, he outspeeds the Landorus, and knowing it would be knockoff, he could have stayed in and gone for HP Ice, even Volt Switch. He had a lot of different options there, and it would have been good initiative that he had. And at this point, as you can see, it's Magic Guard, and Heatran doesn't have Flash Cannon for some reason. Maybe that's because he needed other coverage. I think he had rocks on him. I forget, was it? Seismitoad had the rocks. Okay, so Heatran should have had Flash Cannon. At least I think that that's what was needed to take this thing out, but at this point he's just set up. There's really no way of stopping it, and he gets to wearing it down and gets a crit, but Volcanion comes in and finishes. So yeah, I think Flash Cannon would have stopped that, but the rest of his team would have still been really tough to deal with, especially after losing 2 to 3 Mons before Heat Train came back in. But other than that, I mean, it was a good match. I really liked the play with the Pursuit Trap on the Latias. That was good. Getting the rocks up early was also a good play by the Alakazams, getting that initiative and the Toxic on the Landorus. But I would have definitely used the Volt Switch and risked that play there, expecting a U-turn or another knockoff because it's probably choiced. Maybe it wasn't. But regardless, it outspeeds if it's not choice scarfed. So it would have been the right play, I think, to go for Volt Switch and then get that Swish initiative and not allow Clefable to set up. I think at that point, that was when the match was decided. So other than that, we will go ahead and move on to the next one. The next match is between the Krookodiles, aka yours truly, and Felidae. Now, I, after experiencing the threat that is Mega Sharpedo, was even more nervous about Mega Gyarados because even though it doesn't have priority, it gets Dragon Dance and it hits a lot harder. It has Mold Breaker, so my sturdy Pokemon like Skarmory and Donphan can't take advantage of their sturdy ability because of, Mold Breaker ignores that. And I knew that I needed to bring Arcanine, but it was like scary to think that, it wouldn't be able to pull through all that well. I was expecting him to bring something other than the Breloom and the Volbeat. I expected the other ones. Can't remember. Let me see. What else on his team was it that I was really concerned about? Because I know I don't feel like Breloom was something that should have been brought. Mienshao would have been an okay option. I really thought Latios would come, but I can see why, because Mega Gardevoir just hits a lot of his team for neutral or super effective damage. I think I was surprised actually about Ferrothorn not coming because that was the only thing that resists Hyper Voice from Gardevoir and can one-shot it with Gyro Ball in return. So an HP Fire from a modest Gardevoir doesn't one-shot Ferrothorn either. So I was really surprised about that, to be honest. I wanted to bring Scolipede because I knew there was a couple situations like the Whimsicott and the, getting one speed boost up would be maybe a way for me to counter a setup on the Mega Gyarados. If it got one or two Dragon Dances up, I would be able to protect and set up that way and get the speed boost up and then run a Mega Horn to take it out. So I felt like I had some answers, but I really didn't know how it was going to turn out. It would be determined based on whether he brought Ferrothorn and if he was able to get Mega Gyarados in and set up. So I was kind of surprised he brought Volbeat. I can see why, and it ended up doing, I guess, what he wanted it to do. And Skarmory just puts in a lot of work here, as you'll see. So, bruh.exe. So I start with Scolipede just to kind of scout, maybe get a Baton Pass set up into something, but he encores me as I suspected. Now, obviously I switch, and he goes into Whimsicott. Here I just go for Volt Switch to get that pivot. And I was actually really surprised he stayed in and went for, stayed in and tried to go for an attack. I'm not sure what he would have used, because Moonblast would have been resisted, his other stab would have been resisted, and then obviously if he's, since he was Prankster, he would have been able to go for Stun Spore or something if that's what he had. So I don't know what he went for here, but letting it go down and take the Poison Jab when he had Skuntank in the back was kind of interesting to me. From there, I mean, I just get to spam damage with Scolipede whenever I want, because when he switches out I can just toss a Mega Horn or whatever. So I Baton Pass into Stainless my Skarmory as Rocky Helmet because I knew he'd probably bring Dragon Tail. So what I keep doing here now is I know he's going to try an Earthquake because I know he's got Coil, Earthquake, Pain Split. I didn't know he had Pain Split at the time, but I knew his damage coverage would have been a Ground move and a Dragon move, and I had immunities for both. I knew that he couldn't do anything to Skarmory, so I would just spam that switch until I would get a different outcome. So a bit stally, I apologize. But he finally switches in here. I go for a whirlwind, knowing that he takes that so well, it's ridiculous. So Skarmory is able to shuffle things around some more. The Gyarados loses its setup, which was important for me because otherwise, yeah, so I'm not sure why he went for, maybe it was because he was running a Toxic Orb bulk set, but I outsped him, went for the Brave Bird and took it out there. So again, just kind of shuffling here. I switch back into Skarmory, again, just kind of waiting for a different outcome. Same thing, and then I go for a Will-O-Wisp here because I've got him to think that I'm going to switch again. So I go for the burn so that I know he can't, even when he sets up, like he can't really do anything to Gardevoir when I switch in later. If I switch in later. So here I go for a Roost. I just switch out because I am expecting the Encore. So here I just go for Mega Horn. Just for damage. I did not know it got Tail Glow, so that was an interesting thing. Maybe it gets Baton Pass, or maybe it has something else. But that would have been pretty scary. So that was an interesting move, but here I'm just getting more speed. I go for the Mega Horn, and I take a ton of damage from Double Edge, which was surprising. I would have probably ran like Foul Play. I don't know if it gets Foul Play, but some high damage Dark move because of the stab. It probably would have ended up doing the same like damage like Crunch as Double Edge without the recoil, and that may have made a difference. I'm not sure. So here I go for Baton Pass to just get the dunk with Gardevoir to give it 1 KO. I knew it wouldn't get knocked out. Now it outspeeds and Hyper Voice. Yeah, with the Zygarde being burned and having, Skarmory just put in so much work. It stopped everything that he could do, and with Whirlwind shuffling around and the rocks up, he didn't have hazard removal, I noticed, and that was a bit of a concern, especially when your Mega Pokemon's non-Mega form, gosh, that was a tongue twister, is weak to rocks. That's something you should definitely, hazard removal is important. I don't even know if he has hazard removal. Let's see. Yeah, he's got Latios, which has Defog, which I would have brought instead of Zygarde. But I can understand why he brought Zygarde because it matched up probably better against Gardevoir. But regardless, it was a good match. I was able to try some new stuff. Skarmory again just walled the heck out of it, and then Speed Boost Scolipede was able to put in the work as well. So other than that, we'll go ahead and go on to the next match, which is between the Cincinnati Charizards and the Minnesota Mucks. Now, this match happened a bit early with the trade and everything, but that the Mucks got for Volcarona. But I see that Sharpedo just runs through this team, especially after a Speed Boost or 2 bonus. It just wrecks house. Now, physically defensive Porygon Z is really the only thing that can handle hits from Sharpedo, and then, Thunder Wave it. So that's the only thing you can really do there. As far as everything else go, Victini's a pretty good option, but Mega Aerodactyl outspeeds. I don't know. I like both teams here. I see some advantages for both. Volcarona is definitely good here, as we will see. So Victini goes for Blue Flare here and gets a lucky burn. Tri-Attack puts in a lot of damage. I'm always surprised by how much Porygon 2 can do with a Tri-Attack, but he just spams that here because why not? Now, the unfortunate part here is, well, not unfortunate. I thought it was going down. Oh, he did let it go down here. So he went for Tri-Attack, and the combination of Burn and Sandstorm will take it out, which really stinks because that's all, he had to really stop the Sharpedo sweep in the late game. And now he's weakened Electros, which was the only thing that can one-shot Sharpedo on a switch-in, and may or may not live a hit depending on his spread. But here he gets in trouble. He went for Drain Punch, and now the Quiver Dance setup is unstoppable and just constantly running through the rest of his team. he's just, he can't do anything to stop it at this point. The only thing he could have done here was, I don't know why he switched out here when he went into Sharpedo. He should have gone for Protect and got that speed boost. Because had he done that, he would have outsped, like if he had done that and then outsped, 317, 328. He would have not outsped it, so I can understand why he did that. Which must have been hard considering, that, like, he was so close to being able to take him out. But he just needed one turn. Well, he needed 2 turns. He should have Mega Evolved on that first turn or that second turn, but regardless, he just didn't have the opportunity to sweep the way he needed to, and Volcarona 6-0'd him. So Volcarona, he used the right opportunity when he needed to bring in Volcarona and get one Quiver Dance up, and from there it was kind of determined that it was just over. So put in so much work. It's just, that thing's scary, really. But I definitely think that it could have gone either way. Had Sharpedo come in with a +2 on speed or +1 on speed without Volcarona being set up, it would have been a different story. Flame Body might have hindered Sharpedo, but I mean, that's a 30% chance. So we'll go ahead and go on to the last match, which is between the New England Parasects and the Maple Grove Gengars. I like Slowbro here. I see a consistency of, let's see. I like the Wigglytuff immunity to Shadow Ball, but it's weak to Sludge Wave, which is unfortunate. What else? I don't know. The Parasects team is a bit fragile in general. I mean, it has Wigglytuff, it has Slowbro and Togekiss, but he doesn't have a true electric immunity, which doesn't matter in this match, so I digress. But they both bring some really interesting stuff, so we'll go ahead and start. I do like the Gengar here. It definitely puts in the work. Machamp does pretty good too, and Gastrodon as well, so we'll go ahead and start. Now the Wigglytuff, what he does with the Wigglytuff is pretty cool. The Swords Dance was a bit ballsy. Probably should have just gone for Stealth Rocks, but Power Herb Solar Beam one-shotting the Marowak, that was hilarious. Like, I would not have expected that myself. So that was props to the Parasects for doing that. But they stayed in a little too long against the Gengar and let it go down. Which, I'm not sure if it mattered, because I don't know what else it would have been really useful for. It did its job, it seemed like. So maybe that was just guaranteeing a safe switch in. Now here, getting the poison on the Slowbro kind of stinks. But right now they're just kind of shuffling back and forth. Gastrodon tries to do some damage with Ice Beam, and then going for Nasty Plot on the Togekiss, just maximizing that damage. Unfortunately, that was lucky. Well, kind of lucky, I guess, because Serene Grace allows it for it to be 60% as opposed to 30% chance of flinching. But that was still kind of lucky that he banked on that. But, Gengar comes in and Sludge Wave again. So at this point, Raichu is able to come in, and I guess that was a speed tie, but it was able to take Gengar out, which was really important for him, because otherwise the rest of his team kind of gets crushed by Gengar. But I would have definitely switched out. I wouldn't have risked the speed tie. I would have gone into something that was less important, like the Xatu, because he had already let the rocks get up. So, I don't know. The Zangoose ripped through Heracross, which was really surprising. So that was a good move on the Gengar's part, in my opinion. And then Machamp just takes so much punishment. But switching in instead of just staying with the Xatu really can't do anything here against the Infernape or the Raichu, so he should have let that thing go down and then gone into Machamp and gone for Dynamic Punch or something. Just, he would have had somewhat of a chance, but Slowbro would have walled both of those last two Pokemon anyways. So, good match. I mean, there's some really interesting stuff that worked out on both sides, like the Solar Beam Power Wigglytuff and the Toxic Boost Zangoose. with Facade. That just put so much pressure. Oh my gosh, that just did so much to Heracross. I couldn't believe that when I first saw that. But yeah, I mean, like I said, some really good matches this week. Some very interesting stuff, some unpredictable stuff, and some, you know, just really intense matches to watch. So other than that, let's see. Let's look at the standings. Unfortunately, this is after I have removed the team that was suspended. So we lost a team, by the way, for anybody who doesn't know. The Lambert Lapras got suspended, so we have 12 teams now. I moved the New England Parasects to the Butler Free division so that we could have an even set of teams in each division. But as you can see, the stats shifted around a little bit, and we've got the Rykos staying strong in first place, Charmillionaires, and then the Krookodiles in third, and then it's just kind of slowly, incrementally going down. But the Wobbuffets and the Zubatman are tied for fourth, so we will see what happens this next week to change that. But other than that, let's, I guess, look real quick at the player leaderboard. So Clefable with that sweep was able to take back first place. The only other movement I really noticed was Gengar made it onto the leaderboard. Volcarona made it onto the leaderboard in its first week, getting 6 kills. So that was, you know, KOs, I should say. But, you know, really, really cool stuff. It was, I think it's just showing that everybody's really learning how to not only think out of the box, but to, in the game, play to their advantages and think of when to set up, when not to set up, what to do in various scenarios in the game. And it's just really cool to see how everybody's improving. So that's all I've got for today, guys. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time. Thanks for watching, guys. If y'all enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like, and if you want, subscribe for more videos. Hope to see y'all in the future, and thank you for watching.